Hello, everyone. Let me know if you can hear me and see me. Okay. We got Rodolfo Rodriguez. Yeah, I decided today to start on time because I'm a bit tired. So yeah, just decided to start on time. I did chat with you guys before on the chat. So yeah, nice to see everyone here. We got Jason Warner, Manic Miner, Crypto Chris, Card, Cobro, Argent, Anelli, Fender Strat. I can't recall, but have you mentioned UK listeners that capital appreciation on gold and silver UK coins avoids capital gains tax? Yeah, I have. Yeah, if you hold coins of the realm, be it sovereigns or Britannia's, there's no capital gains tax. But if you hold anything else, you could be liable to capital gains tax, and it's going to become more important than ever because the thresholds are going to be dropped from like 12 to 6 and then 3,000. So title of the live stream is China gold buying spree continues in December. And I think that's fairly significant because for the last few years, China didn't announce any gold buying. I think their holdings stayed below 2,000 for I don't know how long, maybe at least three to 4 years. So let's share with you. Yeah, that came out, I think, late on Friday. So I recommend if you guys are on Twitter to follow this guy, Christian Gopal. I think he works for he's an analyst at the World Gold Council for Europe and the Middle East area, and he's very good. I think he should have more followers. He's only got 3,000 followers. So he said that data from People's Bank of China shows they added gold for the second consecutive month in December. Gold reserves rose by 30 tons, lifting their reported 2022 buying to 62 tons. Their gold reserves now stand at 2,010 tons. And many people, of course, speculate that that's a lot bigger, the 2,000. That's just for the public, that it could be even 20,000 tons. So I think that's very significant because 2022 is the year that we've had the most central banks basically, going to the bank and saying, we want money. And what do I mean by that? Well, they're getting rid of their dollars, and it's the biggest purchase of gold since 1967. And that's significant because 1967 was just before 1968, of course, but 68 was the year that the London Gold Pool, which was a club of the major Western central banks that were trying to keep the price of gold at $35 an ounce, that club kind of disintegrated. It had started back in the early 60s, and the French especially said, well, the Americans are inflating too much. We want our gold. And then by 1968, that gold pool just was not there anymore. And then by 1971, of course, Nixon had to close the gold window. And from then on, the price just went bonkers. It went from $35, of course, in 1971 to over 200 by the beginning of 1975. So am I saying we're going to see the same kind of action now? It's possible. It's possible, I think. So let me go back here. Link confusion to this live chat. Scoobyism says metals are on the breakout. Yeah, well, they look good, the metals, gold especially. Silver has kind of lagged, but yeah. Steve in Stamford says he managed the live feed for a change. Yeah, I use Zoom to do my live streams, and they've changed something in their software, and I have to do it differently. That's why there's something that is I have to get used to. But hopefully everyone can see me and everyone can hear me clearly. YouTube Christians, hi Mario from the mountains of Pennsylvania. Nice to see you. Oh, Rumpelstiltskin is back. Sorry, Rumpelstiltskin. Not sure what's going on. I need to get used to this new setup from Zoom and YouTube. It's a little different. Belly Dance Rabia's here. More hello from Sweden, from Hans P. Greg Mitchell from Noosa, Australia. Mark Henry, good gold buying spree continues in December. Yeah. Mickey Cheech, Mario Mickey from New Jersey via Arizona, loud and clear. That's good. Dmitry Smirkovich, sir, do you think the benevolent overlords are trying to heat up Brazil for our own good? Our own good, of course. Last year was Kazakhstan. It could be, who knows? I mean, I don't follow too much things over there. Yeah, we have the new president. He's changed everything, of course, and there's about half of Brazilians who are not very happy. So maybe they are trying to do that. And why would they do that? Well, because Brazil is part of the BRICS. And even in 2021, Brazil bought a lot of gold. And maybe they want to weaken Brazil because that would weaken the BRICS. It would weaken the Russians and the Chinese, but we'll have to see. Stephen Stamford says, hi, great to finally make a live stream. Been tuning in on your uploads for a few months. Glad to hear you're getting a new puppy. A house isn't a home without a pet, especially a dog. You're right. We're looking forward to getting him in February. That's when he's coming home. BP, a joke from Japan. Unlike America, Japan is not controlled by the deep state. It is controlled by our housewives. Yeah, Mrs. Watanabe, right? St. Louis 9 says, I'm certain Billy is doing well in heaven. Christ Willie. I'm sure he is. Large silver coin next to the Kruger end, it's a Kookaburra, a 10 ounce coin. It's not new. I've had that for a while. Yeah, there's a few new things here because we're having other rooms in the house redecorated. So my wife's moved a few things in here. So we've got like a super chat here, Olivia 1971. That's a good year. Not for the monetary system, but it's a good year nevertheless. Thank you for the super chat. I have watched your channel for a while. Really appreciate your wisdom. What is your opinion on collecting Hallmark silver spoons? Yeah, yeah, you probably find better deals than buying sometimes the coins. You just yeah, if it's Hallmark sterling silver, what you need to do is weigh them and then multiply it by 0.925. And then let's say if it's I don't know how heavy a spoon is, but let's say it's 10 grams or maybe a bit more. You multiply by 0.925 and you get the real silver weight. And then 1 ounce of silver is 31.1035 grams. And then you have an idea of whether you're paying a good price. But oh yeah, there's no problem in buying Hallmark silver, especially silverware. Mark with a K, can you provide us with some insight on the average house prices in the center of London over the past centuries, measured in gold and silver? Yeah, I haven't done one for the center of London. but I've done for a national, nationwide house prices. And unfortunately, it only goes back to 1953. Let me see if I can get a link here for you guys. UK national house price. Is it nationwide? I'm trying to find a video. Oh, here we go. I did this in 2020, this video. I made this video. Is the UK average house price to gold ratio over time. Unfortunately, it's not for the center of London, but what you can do is just, it doesn't really change. It's just the ratio. So there you go. You can watch that. Stephen Stamford, thank you for your super chat. Weird, your YouTube didn't start your live stream automatically. Yeah, as I said earlier, Zoom has changed this software, like where I set up the live stream, because I do it through Zoom. I used to be able to copy the links from YouTube when I set up the YouTube live stream. And now it's changed it completely. So it's a different setup. So I'm not sure what's going on, but I think it's okay now. Shannon Wright, thank you for your super chat. Thank you, Mario. Blessings for 2023. Same to you, Shannon. Yeah, Steve, prices are still really high, I think, in terms of gold. The gold silver ratio is still quite elevated. I would say below 100, the 100, less than 100 ounces for the average UK house price would be interesting. I think historically the low is around 90 ounces for the average house price. BP says, funny observing that I see a lot of UK pensioners as tourists. It's as if the UK pension crisis has been a non-issue. Well, it was a non-issue because the Bank of England bailed them out. It could have been a big issue if the Bank of England hadn't intervened with its not QE. Ant H, if you won the lottery, where would you put the money? Sorry, LG, the YouTube studio to stream live. Yeah, I've done that before. The problem is I can't share things. If I wanted to share things with you guys on Zoom, I can. Where would I put the money if I won the lottery? Well, I try to put as much as possible into gold and silver, but maybe also into property, into real things, and maybe also into some companies that pay a dividend as well. A good dividend. I wouldn't put it in bonds though. And if I had debt, I'd pay off the debt, of course. So there's more stuff here I wanted to show you guys. Let's have a look. Yeah, because I was talking about, I think I mentioned the central banks, and let's have a look. Something I wanted to show you guys. I think they're moving us towards accepting a higher, well, they call it inflation. I call it CPI. So I saw this, when was this? Yeah, it came out yesterday. FT, it's an opinion piece. Central banks should sacrifice ambitions of a perfect economic lending. Policymakers need to heed the risk of a recession and market turmoil. So I read through this, but what got my interest was this comment at the end. Paying attention to threats other than inflation would probably make for fewer rate rises. That could in turn mean prices continue to rise by 3 or 4% a year for the foreseeable future, and inflation's descent stops short of 2% goal that rate setters crave. That is not ideal, but a very messy 2022, sacrificing ambitions of a perfect landing for something more prosaic could prove the least of worst option for everyone. So someone just asked me about the pensioners in UK pensioners traveling. Well, it's because the Bank of England did a one-off QE to solve that problem. If they hadn't done it, yeah, a lot of more affluent pensioners, they wouldn't be going on holidays, because don't forget, it was not the state pension that was in trouble. It was the private defined benefit pensions. They could have gone to zero. And that's why I think we're going to continue to see high CPI. They call it inflation. And you get this kind of 3 to 4 or even 5% CPI over 15 years. The purchasing power of your savings halves. So that's the problem with that. And I think it's not just the Bank of England that's going to keep doing that, but it's going to be all central banks, to be honest. Mail and Sunstages. When does the doomsday scenario happen? Worldwide hyperinflation, starvation, and war? Well, I don't think, that's the other thing. I don't think we should be too negative. And even though I talk about currencies debasing or even maybe collapsing, it's not the end of the world because the real economy is still around. Whether we're going to get famine and war, I don't know. Hopefully we won't. But I think they're trying to make us fearful. And I've said that, I've been saying that for quite a while, that we need to keep living our lives as normally as possible. We need to be aware, though, that they're going to keep inflating the system. And that's how we got to roll, I think. And make sure if you have some savings to protect, that you might want to have some gold and silver to protect. I would say, I'm not giving advice, of course, but it's done well over the last 20 years, even prior to the 08 crisis and past the 08 crisis. Gold has averaged about 9.2% gain annualized since the year 2000 in the major currencies. Norman Jack, the new puppy is coming in February. He's a little young to come home. He's still with his mom and his sisters. He's about 5 weeks old. When the currency collapses, how do companies pay for their workers? Well, I experienced the currency collapse in Brazil. What happens is they just bring in a new currency and workers get paid with the new currency. It's very disruptive, though. That's what they'll try to do. There's only one way. Thank you for your super chat. Only one way. I just got off the phone with Putin. Oh, good. Did you have a nice chat with him? Norm, is the UK going to give Venezuela their gold now that the coup has failed? I think, yeah, I saw that Guaido has been dropped even by his party, I think. So you would think that they should give the gold back to Venezuela, but I doubt it. But I think we're going to hear again about that, because the UK High Court last year judged in favor of the UK government. So yeah, for those who don't know, Venezuela has some gold with the Bank of England, and they asked for it back. And the Bank of England and the UK government said they couldn't have it because they didn't recognize Maduro as the president. And even though the ambassador to the UN from Venezuela was appointed by Maduro, so it's a joke. It just shows how much of a joke the West is, how the West is acting. And that's another reason why the BRICS are moving away from the dollar, because you can't trust the West. And of course, the UK is a big part of that club. Jock Mahan, thank you for your super chat. When does the Royal Mint normally release the New Year's coins? I want to buy more before the price continues to rise, but want to get the 2023 coins. Well, I wouldn't buy. I think there are 2023 coins out there already. I have an affiliate here in the UK, Gold Investments. The details of Gold Investments are always below in the detail of my videos. I'm going to put it in the details of this record of the live stream after it's finished, and I put it up as recorded. Yeah, check Gold Investments. And if you give them a call, it's goldinvestments.co.uk. Give them my name, or Maneko64, and they'll give you a good deal. They should have 2023 coins. If you buy it directly from the mint, they will charge you more than the dealers. And why is that? Well, because they're the ones who really sell to the dealers at a good price. And I wouldn't be buying gold coins or bars from the mint directly. Can the workers demand payment in precious metals during a currency collapse? Well, I think in the late 70s, some people were demanding payment in Krugerrands. It depends, if the workers, well, they'd have to negotiate with their employers, but who knows? What breed is a new pup, Jack? It's the same as Billy. It's a Shih Tzu. Robert, I think what the Bank of England has been doing with Venezuela's gold is lending it out to the bullion banks so they can keep leasing, hypothecating to, that's how they play the paper game. They let's say they lease it to the LBMA, and the bullion banks take that lease gold. And then, if a client wants to buy gold, they buy it, they sell it to them, but they sell the allocated gold. As long as the clients don't want physical delivery, they can play that game. But one day when people want physical delivery, that game will be up. Gary Granuto says it's not that much more from the Royal Mint. Well, maybe that's changed, but back in 07, 08, they were quite good, but I don't know. Maybe that's improved. BP has a question. A banker-led privatization of public companies has led to higher prices. Why does this conflict with the Austrian view that privatization is good for the end consumer? I think it's because a lot of these privatizations haven't really been true privatizations, because the government has held a lot of control over these companies. Like with the energy companies here in the UK, they put a price cap on how much they can sell the fuel for. And that's what caused the collapse of many of the energy companies back in 2021. Yeah, so they have privatized it only in name only, I think. But there are things like that. Yeah, even though I'm a free market guy, there are a few things that the government is responsible for, like administering the rule of law and safeguarding the borders of a country, and maybe even like the post. The post has historically been something that is a public utility. So apart from that, though, I think, yeah, and I'm not sure the privatizations have been done properly. Stephen Stamford, what assets? Well, I've been saying for the last 3 years that there's going to be a move to, and there has been a move from paper assets like stocks and bonds into more hard assets, commodities. So that's the way I see things, and then you just have to look at different commodities, whether you can buy them directly or by companies involved in it. And a lot of times I also tell people that investing in yourself and family members is very important as well. And being part of a community, it's not just all about investing. I haven't read that book, Anthony C. Sutton's book on energy, but he has a lot of interesting books. Yeah, Anthony C. Sutton, I recommend him. Let's see, I've got a few more things here. Oh yeah, I just wanted to show you, there's a guy on Twitter who follows the silver situation on COMEX quite closely. It's Michael Silver Squeeze. And he's just come out, I think it was yesterday, as a percentage of registered silver vault totals. 2022 was by far the largest year for drawdowns at the COMEX. So that's 2022 there. So that's encouraging. That's the silver squeeze movement. We have to keep buying physical, not ETFs, because that's how we're going to defeat the bullion banks. But I think the BRICS countries, we've seen India buy a lot of silver as well. The central banks haven't been buying silver like they buy gold, but I think it's very important as well to have silver. Over here, do you think YouTube prepper channels are predominantly doom and gloom? No, I think a lot of times they have good, good ideas about what to do. But the problem with the prepping is that not everyone can live such a life. Not all of us can go and move from where we are. We have families and attachments in the community. We can't just all go and live in the middle of nowhere. And I think if you do that as well, I've known people over the last few years who have moved out of the city, gone somewhere else, and now they want to come back because they don't have many friends there, or they don't feel, yeah. So you got to be careful with it, whether they're doom and gloom, maybe a little bit, but I think it's always good to be prepared for the worst than not be prepared. But yeah, so I personally, I'm not into prepping, but yeah, I think it's important though, maybe to do buy a few extra things that you need, everyday things that you need. That's what Starpath Academy, Arpad, told me about a year and a half ago when he was living in Romania in the 90s. They had a lot of inflation. It's not really rocket science, just buy things that you use every day. When you go to the supermarket or wherever, buy a bit extra if you think there's trouble ahead. Maybe I'm underestimating. Maybe I should be prepping more, but who knows? Carlitos Reviews, thank you for your super chat. Why people don't buy more 9 to 5 sterling silver jewelry instead of coins or bars? Same silver, once melted, minus the 7% other metals. Well, I mean, that's a good point. And I think pawn shops could be a good place to get those because they buy a lot of junk silver from people. A lot of times it's 925 or sterling. There's nothing wrong with holding 925 jewelry or cutlery or anything that's 925. Some of those cups there, my golf prizes, they're from Switzerland from years ago when I used to play a lot. And in Switzerland, I think they're 835. So there's silver up there. I'm not going to melt that though. Last resort. Yeah, we need maybe someone saying here only 17 likes, 683 people here. Not sure what's going on, but yeah, we've had like something going on with the live stream. Lord Humongous, nice to see you here. Do you think that even though government can privatize public companies, if they still keep the existing regulators, that we will not see full benefits of privatization? The thing is, if you go back in time, governments never really created companies. If you go back 100 years. So I don't think personally that making companies, nationalizing companies is a panacea. So that's the way I see it. Scott Bonata, is it true that we are in a rare worldwide recession heading for a depression, and then maybe On the Beach movie with Taiwan and China, it's a good movie. Well, I'm not sure. What are you saying? Is you saying that we're going to the depression and then there's going to be war? It could be. But I think, since 2008, because if you look at the equation for GDP, it's expenditures, spending, investment, and they add government expenditures to GDP, and now they also add what they call government investment, but that's that's rubbish because governments don't invest, they spend. And we've been running huge, relatively big deficits since '08. So what that does, it makes the GDP look a lot better than it is. So I would say we've been basically in a depression since 2008. And a lot of the froth that we see in the economy is all to do with credit and cheap money, cheap credit. That's why, we hear people saying, like the Keynesian economists, yeah, we have to create a recession so that people lose jobs so we can bring inflation down. But if the jobs are really good jobs, not malinvestment jobs, you wouldn't have problem with inflation, because if you think about it, people are working and producing things and providing services. That's a good thing. But the problem is that we've got the wrong kind of jobs because we've had too much cheap credit and people are just spending and not producing. Dave, Delve, let's have John Titus back. Yeah, I like John. Maybe, yeah, I should contact him again. I haven't had him for a while. Last of the Rhino. What will be the first country to utilize a gold-based currency? I think we're already seeing it, last of the Rhino, and that's the BRICS countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, the global South. Yeah, and yeah, I've spoken about that, and even people from banks like Credit Suisse, Zoltan Pozar, who worked for the New York Fed, he said we're going into a commodity-based currency for the BRICS, and gold is going to be a very important part of it. And that's why China is buying gold again, I would say. I think China is giving the world a signal which unfortunately many people won't get that signal, but hopefully we're getting that signal. James Hafford, have you heard that people in Oxfordshire must now obtain permission to leave their zone? Yeah, this 15 minutes cities. I've seen that. And also in Canterbury, that's an interesting development that we need to keep an eye on. And yeah, it seems nefarious. And yeah, their excuse is to have less traffic in the middle of the towns or cities. But yeah, it's quite nefarious because they could always change the rules and make it even more. It's almost like going back to medieval times. Henry Padilla, I have a few dollars in GDX. If it pops, would it make sense to move it to physical gold and silver? Well, I think if the GDX always moves more than the bullion. So if you think it's moved quite a lot relative to bullion, yeah, you can lighten up. I would say this is not advice, but yeah, lighten up and buy some physical with it. But yeah, I would stay with GDX because I think it's going to keep doing well as bullion does well. But if you want physical, yeah, no, I don't see why you shouldn't do that. Simon Lai, do you think it's better to save in Chinese yuan than pounds? I think it's better to save in gold and silver, to be honest. I think saving, the Chinese yuan is still a fiat currency. But if I had to choose, I would stick with the Chinese yuan because I think China has a lot more gold than we do. So the Chinese currency would be more sound, I would think. Blast from the past. I recently had a friend watch your most popular video on diabetes. It gave her some hope. Yeah. Actually, that video now is not my most popular because I did a video back in November with Clive Thompson about CBDCs, and we've got 495,000 views on that video. And so the diabetes video is now number 2. Over here, when will you interview Jim Rickards? I interviewed Jim Rickards. I think you mean Rickards, right? Not Ricketts. Back in 2020, and I've asked him again, and he hasn't had time. But there you go. BP, did you see what happened with BitChute and HSBC holding its money and refusing to move their money to a different bank account? No, I haven't seen that. I do publish my videos on BitChute and Rumble. And yeah, but I don't get paid from BitChute. The new prime minister in-laws have a software company that is, yeah, it's called Infosys. Yeah, I know that. I mean, I wrote a lot about the World Economic Forum back in 2020, in June of 2020. So I'm aware of all that's going on. And but I think I try to focus on helping people and informing people about the monetary system, because if we can fight them through their wallets, the powers that be, it's better than trying to keep, not that I don't want to fight them, but you got to know how to fight, because I don't want to be canceled or deleted from this channel, from YouTube, because YouTube still has the most exposure. So yeah, so if you want to see what I feel about the World Economic Forum, you can go to that link there. And I've been, I've been ahead of the game, I think, because I warned people, in June 2020 about that. Dissident Agnostic, thank you for your super chat. Do you think there is any chance if you interview a next central bank governor? I think that kind of insight would be potentially game changing. It's interesting you should ask that, because I have tried to I have contacted Mervyn King, who was the governor of the Bank of England from 2003 to 2013, because he's come out and said, if he was saying last year or even in 2021 that the Bank of England needed to raise rates and that they printed too much money. And I do have one of his books, like Echo, saying the end of alchemy. So, but his secretary came back and she replied to me and said, "Oh, Lord King is busy now, but it would be nice, because to hear from them." I've had a former MP, Peter Lilly, on about a few months ago. Last year, I spoke about the Climate Change Act of 2008. He's now a Lord, so he came on the channel, and he was one of the only 5 or 6 MPs that voted against the Climate Change Act of 2008. So, and I think a big part of the problem we're having with the energy crisis is because of that Climate Change Act. Simon Lai, thank you for your super chat. Lord Humongous, you and me. he misses Billy Airways. Dr. Delbert saying HSBC shutting 25% of all branches. Yeah, I mean, that's been happening for quite a few years. Yeah. And it's probably going to continue. They're trying to get people to deal, digitally and online. They still have to keep some open because elderly people, a lot of them they're not really tech savvy. Carlos Garcia, everyone got their stimulus or subsidies. Wall Street, Main Street, Bitcoin, crypto, yeah. Yeah, I think what I personally think what's going to happen to gold is that's going to be a way of all currencies devaluing without it looking like we have inflation, right? And because you can't have the euro, the pound, and the yen devalue against the dollar, because then the Americans they're going to want to devalue the dollar, and it's like a zero-sum game. The only currency or money that fiat currencies can really devalue against is gold. And I think with all the problems that they're having now, the central banks, with the inflation that doesn't come down, with the economies that are slowing down, and also the fact that governments are continuing to spend and borrow, I think they're going to use their gold. Gold, something that they don't like to use too much. Their gold card, so to speak. Even the Dutch central banker late last year, the head of the Dutch central bank, said that with their balance sheets, going in the red. And why are the central bank's balance sheet going in the red? Well, because interest rates have been rising and the value of their bonds are going down. So they have to reliquify their balance sheets. And the only way to do that is to allow the price of gold to go higher, so that the gold that they hold will help their balance sheets. Because they don't hold too much equity, the central banks. MetaMax 1970, thank you for your super chat. 400 yen, that's nice. John JJ, Mario, I could do a painting of Billy if you had a good photo of him as a reference for me. Yeah, I mean, if you go onto my YouTube channel under about, you can send. There's an email there for business interests. You know, people want to contact about business. You could go in there and send me an email, and then I will send you a picture of Billy. Profiler. Are you aware that Rickards ICE9 theory, and would it be a possibility once liquidity dries up? Yeah, it's interesting because back in March 2020, March or April 2020, when I interviewed him, I asked him about ICE9 because the system almost went ICE9 back in March 2020. So yeah, I'm aware of that theory. And that's what happens. Yeah, if liquidity dries up. The thing is, I don't think the central banks and governments are ever going to allow that to happen. What they'll do is they'll just print like mad. They'll make the printing they did in QE in March, well, in 2020 and 2021 look like nothing. So I don't think they will allow that to happen. And why do I think that? Well, because if everything goes into ICE9, the government is in trouble because they need also the funding, especially the deep state. BP, would it still be good to own mining stocks if Western governments actually implement unrealized capital gains tax on assets? If they do that, you might as well not own anything. But I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not worried about that. And the mining portfolio that I have is in an ISA tax-free account. But yeah, anything can happen, unfortunately. And that's why you need a good base of physical gold and silver outside the system. T. Taylor says, thank you for your response. You're welcome. The Great Closet. What do you think about Francis Hunt's prediction about March 23 event? I've actually interviewed with him about a month ago, Francis, but I haven't seen what his March 23rd prediction is. So I can't comment on it. It's Rudolph, not Rupert. Rudolph, the Shih Tzu Economist YouTube channel. Good evening, everyone. My question is, where and how do you store your gold and silver? Well, you put it in a very safe and hidden place. That's how you store it. Silver Sonic, thank you for your super chat. Crazy scenes in Brazil today. I didn't see any. I haven't watched the news, but I'll have a look. I don't know what's happened in Brazil. My mom actually, she went there before Christmas to spend time with her sister. She hadn't seen her in a few years, but she's coming back on the 9th, I think, back to Switzerland. James Hafford, do you consider a hole in the ground to be a third-party risk? I guess it depends where the hole is, but everything is a risk in life. Unfortunately, you have to weigh the risks and decide what's best for you. Everyone has a different circumstance. T Hook, is it possible that inflation will run hot and price of paper gold will stay the same level? Well, actually, the way I look at inflation, which is the increase in the money supply, we've had deflation since March of 2022, and yeah, and gold has stayed sideways. So when the money supply starts going up again, I think the price of gold will go up again, and especially in dollars, because in other currencies like the currency that I use here in the UK, the pound, gold went up by 12% in 2022. Gold went up by 6.5% in euros. So it's doing its job, and it will eventually do its job in dollars as well. The drawback, and that's funny. Over here, why don't you have a picture of Billy that we can view from your live chats on the wall? Let's see. Let me get a picture of Billy then. Let's have a look. Where is he? Billy. Hold on. Let me find a picture of him. Oh, I got one. Can't find it. Hold on. Well, what I'll do, I'll put a picture of Billy in tomorrow's video. I haven't got one right here. Well, I'll show it to you here. There's Billy. He's on my phone. There you go. LG, would I buy 6 month and T-bills? Yeah, I mean, or maybe it's better to do 1 or 3 month T-bills. 6 months might be a little too long. But the thing about it, yes, you get that income, but you're supporting the deep state. If you're okay with that, if you're okay with supporting the 1.75 trillion omnibus, then go right ahead. I mean, you might need the liquidity. I guess, buying physical gold is more longer term, but if let's say in 6 months you need to buy a house or something, or start a business, maybe, yeah, then deal. Sometimes you have to deal with the enemy, but yeah, it's better right now to have T-bills than T-notes or T-bonds. So what's the difference? T-bills is anything, any treasury up to 1 year. T-notes are any treasury from 2 years to 10 years. And then bonds are anything above 10 years. Okay, John Jay, I will send you something. I saw that. Over here, I haven't followed Palladium. Frank Peter says, buy gold and silver with the interest earned on the on the interest. British say T-bills. We say diner bills. We have T-bills as well. Gilt T-bills, treasury bills, gilt bills. Phoenix FP40. Have you read Progress and Poverty by Henry George? No, I haven't. I heard of it. Uh, Profiler X, when will gold and especially silver pick up steam in 2023? Well, it looks like gold is picking up some steam already, especially in Europe, in our currencies here, and even in dollars. But I made a video this morning, and gold, put the link, and I spoke about that, and I said that it's really difficult to predict where the price is going to go, day to day or week to week, and even during a whole year. But one thing I can say is that over the last 22 years, gold has averaged 9.2%, gain in all the major currencies annualized. So I think that's still the trend. I know things can change. So I don't know when it's going to start picking up. I don't have a crystal ball, but I don't think the people who run our currencies, the people in charge of our currencies, i.e. the central bankers and governments, they're going to continue to do a bad job. So that's why I want to have as much gold and silver as possible. Stephen Stamford, do you reckon banks will fail? I think I think they'll step in. They're doing everything to keep the banks going, and that's why I see more and more. That's why those reverse repos are going up. That's why the Federal Reserve did those swaps with the Swiss National Bank to save Credit Suisse, and so on. But yeah, so what that will mean is that your money, your funds might be safe in the bank, but they're going to continue to lose purchasing power because they're going to have to keep printing and printing. James says, I bought some silver Britannias the other day and realized they are $9.99. Is there much difference between? No, there isn't really. 3 9s or 4 9s is not much difference. It's just it doesn't make much difference. It's still 1 ounce. So there you go. As long as you have a 1 ounce of silver, you just weigh maybe the 4 9s might weigh a little less in terms of whole weight. Yeah, Rich House. I have some silver sixpence, but I also have one of my favorite coins are the florins, the pre-1920 florins, which is 2 shillings. So there you go. And then I have a 1927 Australian florin. I think that was when the Parliament in Canberra was inaugurated, 1927. And these are 925. These are sterling. So I've got some shillings here as well. And I think I have an Australian shilling from 1910, as you can see here. Whoops. Clanky noise. Yeah, Canada is 80%. It used to be years ago, I think before World War I, Canada was on like a sterling standard. Shane O'Donnell, the normal ounce is let's say one normal ounce, imperial ounce is about 28 grams, but the troy ounce is 31.1035 grams. So it's very important to just make the distinguish that. And in gold, gold is always measured in troy ounces. All precious metals are measured in troy ounces. And I think troy, that derives from the city in France called Troyes, Troyes. That used to be one of the major trading posts during the Middle Ages. And that's where they traded a lot of precious metals. So it's an ounce from Troyes in France. So yeah, there is a difference. One is 28 grams and the Troy ounce is 31.1035 grams. So it's very important. Okay, it's time to go. Thank you very much, everyone, for being on the live stream. And I really appreciate all your comments, all your questions, all your super chats. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care and have a great week. And also for those of you who are here for the first time, think about subscribing. Take care.